In this video, we'll take a tour of the two panels that you use to work with effects most, the Effect Controls panel and the Effects and Presets panel. After Effects comes with hundreds of effects. Some people will go to the Effect menu and apply effects through these menu commands. I find that to be somewhat inefficient. I use the Effects and Presets panel. I'll drag on the upper edge of the Effects and Presets panel to give us a little bit more room to see it. And here, we see all of the same categories that we saw in the effects menu. We also have animation presets, shown by default. Before we talk about effects, a quick digression into animation presets. Animation presets and effects are not exactly the same thing. Effects are implemented as plugins, and when you apply an effect to a layer, you are only applying a new set of properties to that layer, whereas with animation presets are not plugins. They are .ffx files, and when you apply an animation preset to a layer, you may be applying keyframes, expressions, effects, or really any number of properties and settings to properties. But animation presets and effects are similar enough in some ways that it makes sense to group them together in the Effects and Presets panel. Most importantly, you apply both of them to layers using many of the same commands and gestures. To find a specific effect or preset in the Effects and Presets panel, you can type part of its name. For example, I can type blur and see animation presets that include blur in the name, as well as all of these blur effects in the blur and sharpen category. Or, instead of searching, I can clear the search, and I can browse by category by clicking the triangle next to a category's name. And here, see all of the blur effects. One of the ways to apply an effect is to have a layer selected, and then double-click on an effect. Notice that when I do this, the effect is applied to the layer, and the effect appears in the Effect Controls panel. The properties in the Effect Controls panel are also visible in the Timeline panel. Give ourselves a little bit more room to see the Timeline panel here. I'll expand the Effects category, and we can see the same blur radius iterations, blur dimensions, and repeat edge pixels properties that we see appear in the Effect Controls panel. But it's often much more practical and efficient to work in the Effect Controls panel. Another way to apply an effect is to drag it onto a layer, like so. And here, notice that the applied effect appears below the previously applied effect. We can select an effect and press delete to clear it. And here, I can drag an effect into the Effect Controls panel and apply it that way as well. This method has an advantage. I'll press Ctrl-Z to undo. Note that if I drag, I can drag and place the effect above a previous effect instead of going to the default location of after or below. Note that there are numbers in the icons next to these effects: 32, 16, and in some cases 8. This refers to the color bit depth that this effect can process. If you want to show only effects that can process the color bit depth of your project, you can choose Show Effects for All Color Depths, or if we have a project that has a higher depth setting, we'll Alt-click this a couple of times to make it 32 bits per channel. Then go over here into the Effects and Presets panel. Now that we have a 32-bit per channel project, we're given the option of showing only 32-bit per channel capable effects. I'll click this and open the blur category again, and notice that the 16-bit per channel effects are no longer showing. We'll go back and turn this off so that we can see all of the effects. If you have a set of effects and keyframes and expressions or other settings to properties that you want to save as an animation preset, you can do so in the Effect Controls panel by selecting a couple of effects, and in the Effects and Presets panel, choosing Save Animation Preset. You're prompted for a location and a name. New preset. And click Save. And here, in the Animation Presets folder, under User Presets, we have our new preset. You can also install new animation presets by putting them in the proper folder in the Finder or Windows Explorer, but those don't automatically show up in the Effects and Presets panel until you restart After Effects or choose Refresh List. Note that many effects have animation presets associated with them, and if that's the case, then you can see the animation presets in this menu. Directional blur doesn't happen to have any associated with it right now, so we only see none. If you don't want to see the animation presets in the Effect Controls panel, deselect Show Animation Presets from the Effect Controls panel menu. If you have several instances of the same effect, it can often be useful to rename an instance of an effect. So if you select the name and press Enter, you can type a new name. Since I named that horizontal blur, I should probably actually make it horizontal by making it a 90-degree directional blur. And if you want to reset an effect back to its original settings, just click the Reset button. Well, that's a quick tour of the Effect Controls and Effects and Presets panels. You use these panels quite a lot when applying effects, so I'm sure that you'll become familiar with them very quickly.